You are welcome to today's sharing, continuing with people care, QIS module people care under the topic of reward. That's topic 2. We'll get to know more about what rewards is about, and if we are able to understand what the organizations do to reward their employees. Moving forward, we would like to know more about what reward is, and we hope to get many of us participating in this discussion. Okay, Mim, we continue. Okay, our aim for this topic of reward is that every person's work is valued, whether paid staff or volunteers, and we are regularly taking time to show people that their work is appreciated. And if you are to visit an organization to find out whether this is actually in place, some of these things, that the examples that should lead us to know that workers are valued and they are appreciated. One of the things is the pay system, ways of thanking people for the work they do. For example, small things like kudos. We usually get milkshakes sometimes for the nice things we do, and we are appreciated for what we do at work, and also occasions for showing workers that they are appreciated. If there are days or designated times in a quarter, in a month, that workers are appreciated for the number of quite good things that they have done. Okay, and we move forward. Okay, reward is something that all of us appreciate in our lives, whether we are rewarded by God or by our friends, by our families. But most importantly, today we want to focus this reward on our work. And we want to understand what a reward is. And this is an achievement and benefit received by someone, in this case, by a worker, for their job performance in the organization or maybe church and school. These are very important things because they help to keep us workers happy, loyal, and eager to step up and achieve more. If you work in a setting that, you know, things like this are not really functional, then sometimes people are not eager or don't look forward to come to work the other day, or even to do more, to achieve more for the organization. Yeah. Move forward. We want to also understand what God tells us about reward, and we want to talk about the quality work for your employer, me as an employee, you or anyone as an employee. We want to see us do quality work for our employers, and we are taking this reference from Colossians chapter 3, verse 23 to 24 from the NIV version. And it says, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving. And when you look at how our work is structured, how our network and partnerships are structured, most of what we do really is to lead us to inherit a lot from the Lord. So our reward is up there in terms of this scripture, and that we serve God for the work we do for the children and how we are impacting families around the communities we work with. Okay, and I would like us to to think about something as we understand rewards more. How does your organization reward or recognize workers? And I'd like Mim to maybe allow me or you share the white whiteboard, so that people are able to chat, to type in and tell us how the organization they work with is able to reward them or recognize them for the work that they do, whether it's in the church, at school, or it's a childcare institution. How does this happen in the organization? Okay, please share your views. The question is, how does your organization, what or recognize workers? Your responses, please, here or on the chat. I think Mim will help me to get what people are saying in the chat. Okay. What do you think? Mim, is anyone in the chat typing something?
I'm sure they're typing, but it hasn't appeared yet.
Okay. All right. And okay. Thank you, Becca. Praise and acknowledgement. Okay. I think it's quite important that whatever we do and we do well is acknowledged and, you know, given a praise. Thank you, Becca, for your contribution. Okay, they tell everyone else what I achieved. So there are those moments where people are brought together and they celebrate someone's achievement or what they've done well. Thank you. Okay. Another minute to that to see what people have to say about the rewards they see in the organization. Salary increment. They give me an extra 3 days of leave when I have served for 5 years. Wow. Okay. That's quite interesting and encouraging. Bonus for performance. Take me out for lunch. Yes, and this may not bring in a lot of pocket change or something in your pocket, but if someone takes you out for lunch for what you've done well, I think it's quite rewarding and being noticed and appreciated. They celebrate my birthday and pray for me. Okay, one more contribution and I'll close this discussion so that we move forward. Coffee together to celebrate achievements. Okay, much for this sharing. We can go to our slides, and we are going to try to understand more about what the types of rewards we have, and most times these are things that we can get hold of by our hands and see, and sometimes are things we do not see. And these are the two types of rewards. The tangible rewards, this can be seen and touched. You can see money, you can touch it, you can see an award and a trophy and touch it, and many things that can be tangible for someone to be rewarded. And then intangible, these are self-generated and cannot be touched. This is something that is within you. You are motivated to do certain things because they are challenging, they are interesting, and there's no way you can touch that, but it is within someone's feelings or the way they see their work. Okay. All right, so let us move forward to understand more about these intangible and tangible rewards. And for the intangible rewards, these are self-generated factors. And for example, they include responsibility, autonomy, freedom, which is the freedom to act, the scope to use and develop skill and abilities, interesting and challenging work, and opportunities for advancement. While on the other side of the tangible, these can be seen and touched. So if you look at the unless someone shows you they are interested as they do something well, or the skills, but you can see someone put a skill to life by the way they do the things. And then on intangibles, usually under the control of the individual. And that is really personal. It is within you. It is in your satisfaction of the way you're doing things. And yet on the other side, they are controlled by the reward. The rewards are controlled by the organization. Or school controls. It is the organizations that is in charge of making sure you attain that reward. And then achievements, feeling of accomplishment, that is intangible. You feel accomplished, and informal recognition, job satisfaction, personal growth, status are examples of some of these rewards that are intangible. While on the tangible side, the things that we can see formal recognitions, fringe benefits, incentives, pay or promotion, and so we can visually see these recognitions and rewards. And then on the intangible side, we have people who are able to show self-advocacy, increased self-advocacy, goal achievement, and positive self-esteem. You can easily tell someone who has a positive attitude towards something, or they feel proud about doing something and the way they do it in terms of the intangible reward, because they are very involved in that, in the work, and they enjoy the work they do. And then on the other side, tangible rewards create a desire to chase after goals and dreams, which leads to individual benefits because you want to achieve more and get these benefits to yourselves, maybe promotions. So sometimes it is a drive for people to chase for more as they get individual benefits in their lives. Okay, so we move forward to understand what organizations need to ensure they have in place as rewards are being implemented in the organization. And sometimes this is something taken lightly by some organizations, but if you don't have systems in place, then some of these things will either have employees turn around all the time and they leave because they are not very well structured. One of the standards we have is there is recognition and appreciation of what people do, especially volunteers. And so there is evidence that workers are appreciated and are recognized, and that evidence can be, for example, in a documented policy of how we reward our workers or staff or volunteers. And then there are special rewards given to workers in recognition of their work. So if we want to recognize people and appreciate them for what they do well in the church, the organization or school, these special rewards are are visible, they are there, and people know that these exist, and maybe that should motivate them to do more and achieve more for the organization, to be part of those special rewards. And two, we have salaried workers, or a salaried worker is provided with some resources for the work they do, even if minimal. It's important that whoever gets to work somewhere, they have tools to make sure they deliver to their expectations. Examples of such resources include equipment like computers, books of accounts for finance, travel, transport for field staff, phones, airtime for communication, protective gears for cleaners or drivers and riders. These facilitate and encourage workers to work in a comfortable environment because they have resources that help them to deliver to their expectations. Okay, and we move to standard 3 of rewards, and that is there is some provision made when a salaried worker is sick. There is some provision made when a salaried worker is sick, and this is documented, and there is provision for this, for sick leave in the HR policy in case a worker is sick. If you come to work with malaria and you're not allowed to have time off for you to heal, it's distressing and may not motivate you to do more, even last in the organization, because your health is not considered. Then there is a record of sick for all workers for us to track and how many times I've been away from because I'm bit well, or it's one reason or another that is health related. And sick workers are not worried of losing their job pay as long as they are within the allowed duration of sick leave in the Policy or Employment Act. And I think when the sick leave has to be extended from the durations in the chief organization, engage the sick employee to work out dynamics of how this can be extended. And standard 4, staff policies are compliant with national legislation on employment, work health, workplace health and safety, and other relevant national legislation. And we wanted our policies, or we encouraged those that are writing policies that ensuring staff welfare or rewards in this particular discussion are very related to the Uganda legislations. And we have some examples there: the Employment Act, the Labor Disputes Arbitration and Settlement Act, the Equal Employment Opportunities Act, and the Workers' Compensation. And for us to note, all these policies should be in writing and made accessible to all workers. So that this is in place and it is related to what the Ugandan law or legislation, or sometimes the international provisions have for workers. Okay, so I have, moving forward, I have a question for us that are part of this discussion. Which of these standards, of the 4 standards, would be difficult for your church or school to implement? And that maybe you can help to flash back a few seconds to the slides, the 2 slides that have the standards, so that people see the 4 standards and what would be difficult for them to implement in their church, in their school, or organization. One is about the staff policies being in compliance with the national legislations. Is that difficult to implement? Would that be challenging to implement in your organization? Or provision of salaried workers to have sick leave, would that be difficult? for you to implement in a school, church, or organization, or there is recognition and appreciation of what people do. Would that be difficult? So I wanted us to hear from those that feel any of these 4 standards would be challenging too. You can type in the chat, or you can be allowed to. If Mim, you can help me share, allow me share my screen again for the whiteboard for people to tell us, even if you were to support an organization to implement this, what would be challenging for you to put in place? Because if you know, most of us have the duty to support us to reach or step up to these standards of QIS. What would be difficult for you who is going to visit an organization, or if you were the organization, what would be difficult for you to implement among the 4 standards that we have? Okay. I didn't get to see who typed. Can we see the board? Okay, there's contribution here. Churches being in line with legal procedures, that would be challenging. Okay. Giving certificates and recognized with gifts, that would be difficult. If I would know where this would be difficult, is it in a church or in a school? Okay, and then provision made when salaried worker is sick. Do we have this in our budgets? Okay, I think provisions may not be necessarily because you have to pay for their health, but at least they have time off too, for them to go seek treatment. If the structures in your HR policy can allow them to get medical, and also help, but if they also have time to go and seek their medication away from work. And then someone says, sometimes we can do the material things very easily, but it is what comes out of the mouth that matters most. Okay, and this one says, I think all of these standards would be really relative to the size, capacity of the organization. So a small organization with only volunteers might not be able to provide computers, but could at least, I didn't get that complete. Okay, these are quite interesting because it's not very easy to have some of these standards in place, but if we are reminded of the duties to ensure workers or staff, volunteers, okay, at least provide transport expenses. Okay, that statement was completed. If we have to on employment, what about when the government legislation is in conflict with values of faith? Okay, maybe someone can, if there is any comment you would want to share about this that we are seeing here, anything that you would like to contribute on voice, you could, I could allow one person to give their suggestion or contribution to one of 2 comments that we have on the whiteboard. The certificates and gifts was for recognition, Helen. Okay. Would that be difficult to give a gift or a certificate in an organization? It, certainly it would depend on maybe the resources the organization have, but sometimes even with the smallest resources, you can make people happy and have them rewarded with the smallest that you have. Anyone that wants to comment on what we have on the board? especially something to do with when the government legislation is in conflict with our values of faith, if we are trying to implement some of these standards in institutions like churches. Okay. Anything that is happening in the chat that I might be missing out? My best bosses have. Okay. Someone says, my best bosses have not been flush with money, but helped me to grow. Okay, that is quite interesting, because sometimes it may not be tangible, but it adds to your skills, to your growth in terms of capacities to manage certain roles and responsibilities, and that is sometimes priceless. You may not attach so much tangible rewards to that, but thank you. Okay, I'll stop sharing. I think if there is any contribution, they can still come in the chat. Okay, and then we'll look at our last sharing for this discussion, and that's the last slide we have. And we want us to see whether there are any gaps in the way we reward people. Have you identified any gaps in the way you reward people? And if there are any gaps, what action points are you taking from this discussion? Okay, I don't know if it's still a contribution from the previous one. Ime, I think in churches we can get to a level of appreciating what we have and how we can use the little resources to reward volunteers. Okay, thank you. So have we identified any gaps in the way people are rewarded in maybe the organizations that we visit as crane staff, PR staff, and the organizations that are in this discussion? Have you identified any gaps in the way you reward people? And what action points are you taking from this discussion to make your reward system better and motivating for your volunteers and staff? Okay. Can we keep that maybe in the chat if there are any gaps that we have identified, or any action points that we are taking from this discussion? You may be mentoring an organization in QIS People Care. What are you taking from this discussion to empower your organizations or members more to step up to this level of QIS? Okay. We have maybe 1 or 2 minutes to end our discussion, if we can, okay. Words of affirmation. Okay, that is an action point from our discussion. We are taking words of affirmation as something that we can use to reward employees or staff or volunteers. Yes, and sometimes this is a language some people really love to relate with. Okay. Okay, you may not have identified the gap, but you could share what your action points would be from this discussion to better the performance of the members that we work with. Praying for people. Thank you. Okay. And Paul says, I think we need to be deliberate about rewarding our teams. Many times it is not about money, it is just being able to recognize efforts and celebrating efforts, Ime says. I think that's very powerful. Knowing that what you've done has been celebrated and recognized without necessarily having money attached to it is something most times intangible and self-rewarding. How do we see efforts that are hidden? Okay, there's a question here. How do we see efforts that are hidden? Could anyone get an attempt to this? Okay. Well, I also read from the chat. Becca says making policies clear so that there is consistent. If we are continuing to empower our members. Thank you, Becca. Humphrey says the way we interact and communicate with members can be improved to become a motivator for the ownership of the network. That give an example when I was trying to follow up with my members during the lockdown when we're still working at home. They were amazed to realize we can actually still talk to them and find out how are you doing, how are your families, before you even bring the points that you have to, the standards that you have to put across. Is your family okay? Are you fine? And these are things that can also feel rewarding for them to be part of the work that we do together as a network. Okay. Using kind words, giving feedback is rewarding. So thank you. I have used 31 minutes. If I don't know, Mim, if you have any extra time to this discussion to have people share what they are taking from this rewards topic. Paul says, I guess efforts yield results. Someone says there was a question about how to see efforts. It says, I guess efforts yield results, and so we can see them when they are hidden. I think when the results come out, then the efforts can be visible at that level. Then Humphrey says, it's evident that intangible or intrinsic rewards are the most effective way. Intangible or intrinsic rewards are the most effective way of motivating people and sustainable. I think it's very helpful as well. To have those intangible things happening for workers, for volunteers, can keep them going, while maybe the other tangible things come in, which may not be so much, but if we have this fronted and well done, they can keep people motivated and focused. So I want to thank you for what you've shared, how you've participated in this discussion, and I hope we can still take this message away to our members that have not been part of this discussion, and to reach a point of empowering them with the 4 standards in place, we would have a better approach with what people have shared and given us today. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Helen, for encouraging us, and we look forward to the fruits of your labour. Thank you.